Hi, everyone. This is Chris Goff with AFT's Fight for Affordability campaign. On July 1st, the Trump administration will implement the harshest changes ever in the student loan repayment system, making federal student loans more expensive and harder to access. I want to take a few moments to give you some information about how to best prepare yourself for these changes so that you can remain in an affordable payment plan and continue making progress towards public service loan forgiveness. So here's what you need to know about what's happening on July 1st of 2026. So first, student loan servicers are going to begin sending notices to borrowers who are enrolled in the SAVE plan about a 90-day deadline to exit that plan. The Department of Education is going to launch their new Repayment Assistance Plan, which is the newest IDR plan available to student loan borrowers. New public service loan forgiveness employer rules will take effect on July 1st. And new borrowing caps on Grad Plus loans will also go into place on that date. Finally, on July 1st, eligibility for income-driven repayment ends for Parent Plus borrowers with unconsolidated loans. So as that date approaches, here's a few things that you can do to make sure that you are in the best position possible. First, make sure you know your student loan repayment situation. Log in to studentaid.gov and confirm which repayment plan you're on and whether you're in forbearance or in active repayment. Understanding your current situation is the first step to managing your loans. Second, certify your PSLF employment eligibility. You should submit your PSLF application every year through the PSLF help tool at studentaid.gov/PSLF. We recommend submitting this every year and anytime you change public service jobs. Annual certification helps catch servicer errors early and keeps you on track for loan forgiveness. Third, document. Download and screenshot your loan documents, payment history, and PSLF payment tracker from studentaid.gov. You can download your student loan repayment file by clicking on My Aid at studentaid.gov and then clicking on View Details and Download My Data. If you're applying to a new income-driven repayment plan, keep copies of all your applications and then all correspondence related to those applications. Now, there's some important information about some deadlines coming up. So if you are on the SAVE plan right now, that plan is ending. So borrowers with loans in the SAVE plan, like me, have been sitting in a forbearance for years, and interest has been accruing on our loans since August of 2025, so balances have grown. Starting on July 1st, your loan servicer will send a notice giving you 90 days to choose a new plan. Now, if you miss that window, you're going to be automatically moved to a standard repayment plan, which means that your payment could grow by hundreds of dollars a month. Also, your servicer may reamortize your loans, which means they could stretch out your repayment period even longer. So you need to make sure that your contact information is up to date on both your servicer's website and on studentaid.gov, so you can be sure that you're receiving the latest communications in a timely manner about your loans. Watch for your servicer's notice and choose a plan before that 90-day window runs out. Now, if you're pursuing PSLF, pick an income-driven repayment plan that qualifies for PSLF. We would recommend, if you're a current borrower, using either the income-based repayment plan or pay-as-you-earn if you qualify for it. If you're worried about being able to afford plans, check the EGCAP repayment calculator at the URL you see in front of you, and you'll be able to input your information and see what you might be paying in all these plans to make sure that you can afford them before enrolling. And you can actually enroll in the plans at studentaid.gov/IDR. Now, if you're pursuing PSLF, the core of PSLF is not changing. You still need to make 120 qualifying payments, or at least 10 years worth, while working full-time with a qualifying public service employer. If you do that, you can still reach loan forgiveness. However, a new rule lets the Department of Education disqualify a small number of employers it deems to have substantial illegal purpose. The department estimates that fewer than 10 employers per year will be disqualified. However, public school districts, public colleges and universities, and government employers and 501c3 nonprofit organizations, including nonprofit hospitals, remain as qualifying employers. So we recommend that you keep certifying your PSLF employment annually and make sure that you're on a qualifying repayment plan for PSLF. Those include income-based repayment, pay-as-you-earn, income contingent repayment, or the Repayment Assistance Plan. And make sure that you're saving every confirmation that you send in about PSLF and your employment or your income recertifications for income-driven repayment. Do not pause your certifications during this transition. Finally, if you're on the pay-as-you-earn plan or income contingent repayment plan, there's a little bit of planning you need to do, but nothing to stress out about. Pay-as-you-earn and income contingent repayment are going to be phased out, but not until July 1st, 2028. Now, eventually, you're going to need to switch to either income-based repayment or the new Repayment Assistance Plan. However, if you're currently paying under pay-as-you-earn and that payment is lower than what it would be under the other repayment options, continue making payments under that plan until it's time to switch in July of 2028. Now, here's some information if you're still considering going back to school. Now, if you're a parent considering taking out loans for your child, as of July 1st, 2026, you'll only be able to take out $20,000 in Parent Plus loans per year per dependent, with a total lifetime cap of $65,000 per dependent. Also, Parent Plus loan borrowers will no longer be eligible to enroll in either income-driven repayment or public service loan forgiveness after July 1st. Now, if you're considering going to graduate school, the Department of Education instituted new loan limits that will make it more difficult for students pursuing graduate degrees to obtain federal financial aid. After July 1st, 2026, graduate students will be limited to borrowing $20,500 per year with a lifetime cap of $100,000. Now, if you're already enrolled in a graduate program, you might qualify for an interim exception. If that's the case, those new loan limits don't take effect until the 2029-2030 school year. So let's talk about the new Repayment Assistance Plan. So this plan launches on July 1st, 2026, and it's going to be available to all federal student loan borrowers. However, while other plans might be available to people who borrowed before July 1st, 2026, RAP is going to be the only income-driven and PSLF eligible repayment plan available to anyone who borrows on or after July 1st, 2026, even if you took out student loans prior to that date. So the RAP plan is going to base your monthly payment on up to 10% of your adjusted gross income, not your discretionary income. And if you are not eligible for PSLF, loan cancellation would occur after 30 years of monthly payments or 360 total payments. So here is a summary of the critical dates that are coming up. So first of all, on July 1st, that new Repayment Assistance Plan goes into effect. New PSLF rules will be put in place, and the new Grad Plus borrowing caps will be put in place. Finally, on July 1st, servicers will start sending out notices to borrowers in the SAVE plan of their 90-day deadline to exit SAVE. Now, the next important deadline is just for SAVE borrowers, and that's that 90-day deadline after you receive the notice. So SAVE borrowers must select a different IDR plan before the end of September 2026, or you're going to automatically be placed in a standard repayment plan, and you could see your repayment plan go up by hundreds of dollars. So it's critically important to re-enroll in a different income-driven repayment plan before that September 2026 deadline, so you can have affordable payments and continue making progress to PSLF. Finally, the last deadline, July 1st, 2028, is for people who will still be enrolled in pay as you earn and income contingent repayment. Those plans end on July 1st, 2028. And so borrowers enrolled in those two plans should plan on enrolling in either income-based repayment or the new Repayment Assistance Plan before that July 1st, 2028 deadline. A couple things to be on the lookout for. First and foremost, never pay anyone to help you for these plans. Switching IDR plans, consolidating your loans, and certifying your PSLF employment eligibility are all absolutely free, and you can do it all online at studentaid.gov. Anyone that's charging you a fee or promising instant forgiveness is most likely a scam, and you should report them to your state's Attorney General's office. Second, make sure you are paying attention to all servicer notifications. That 90-day save clock starts when the notice arrives, so you do not want to miss that. And again, there might be other changes coming through that you need to be informed of, so make sure that you're receiving every piece of mail, every email you get from both your loan servicer and from federal student aid. And finally, document, document, document. You want to make sure that you're taking screenshots of what's appearing on your studentaid.gov dashboard, downloading your NSLDS file from studentaid.gov, keep your own count of payments, keep track of employment certifications, income-driven repayment applications, and any correspondence related to them. Speaking firsthand, when borrowers have issues getting loan forgiveness, having this documentation in hand makes the appeal process much easier. Finally, here's some additional resources to help you manage your student loans. First, keep checking in at www.aft.org/PSLF for any updates about student loan repayment and to get access to AFT's student debt resources. We also encourage you to enroll in AFT Student Debt Clinic. Our next clinic is going to be at 7 p.m. on July 28th. You can register at go.aft.org/AFT Affordability Clinics. We'll cover how to enroll in income-driven repayment, how the different repayment plans work, and how to enroll in public service loan forgiveness, along with best practices to make sure that you stay on track for affordable payments and loan forgiveness. Third, we'd really appreciate it if you share your student loan story with us. Sharing your story allows us to identify systemic issues of student loan repayment that is causing borrowers to struggle and take actions to ameliorate those difficulties. So go to go.aft.org/debt journey. There's a survey there. Share your experience with us and help us make sure that we are helping everyone who is struggling with student loan debt. And finally, if you have questions about student loan repayment or public service loan forgiveness, or you're having issues with a servicer or federal student aid, do not hesitate to reach out to us at debtclinic@aft.org, and we'll do our best to provide you with assistance. Thanks for taking the time to learn about what's happening with student loan repayment. We hope to see you at an upcoming AFT Student Debt Clinic, and we hope you have a really great summer.